Hi, this is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle. Today I have the opportunity to work on an Ocean City reel. Well, it's actually a model JC Higgins sold by Sears, but it was made by Ocean City. It's a nice reel, indicative of the reels were made in the late 50s and early 60s. And I can remember specifically my dad fishing with one of these for quite some time. This one's in pretty good condition. These aluminum spools normally rot through. Well, we can see a little bit of corrosion here, but otherwise that's in pretty good shape. And the reason I've chosen to do this reel, which was sent in by Rick, is that I get a lot of requests for the Ocean City reels. These are reels that you're going to find at the flea market for a relatively inexpensive price. And, well, you can make the best of them. You can keep them fishing for a long time to come. All you really need to do is keep them serviced. So we're going to show you how to do that today. And, well, if you have an Ocean City reel, this is, I guess, comparable to their 900 series reels. And it'll get you going. So I just used an Ocean City handle wrench, if you will, for this. And we're going to start by taking the exterior pieces off, and as I do, I want to encourage you to subscribe to my channel. If you do subscribe to my channel, please use the notification button. That'll let you know when I'm posting videos, and well, you can see if there are videos that you're going to be interested in, you want to learn about, or maybe you have a reel like that you want to service, then that notification button will let you know when it's up and posted. And if you're interested in the art of reel repair, learning a little bit more about manufacturers, or just generally understanding the fishing reels of the time, their histories and the like, well, I would encourage you again to use that channel. Well, you can see I'm kind of taking these exterior pieces out. We got purple grease in there. That's usually hot sauce grease, but doesn't matter. It's a fishing reel grease. And I would encourage you to use fishing reel greases when you do it. It tells you that the reel has been serviced recently, and we've had some interesting washers come off there. I think that one belongs underneath, but we'll see. All right, there's 6 side plate screws that come off next, and these were branded for Sears, and you can actually see a Sears 7-digit part number on the badge, but Sears was not a fishing reel manufacturer. They weren't a manufacturer of anything, but for example, you'll see Craftsman, and maybe just because we associated the Craftsman brand with Sears doesn't mean that Sears made it. They didn't. Somebody made it for them. I actually had a schedule somewhere of who was making Kenmore washers and toasters and things like that. I guess that was important if you needed to get replacement parts for it. But in this case, this one was made by Ocean City. We know that you don't need to find documentation. Basically, all Ocean City did was change the badge on the outside of the reel. The rest of it is very much Ocean City in look, feel, and design. Well, I'm taking all of the screws out so that we can pull the side plate. A lot of the Ocean City side plates have the flipper lever. This one has the traditional back and forth lever. Looks like I have a screw stuck in a side plate there. And this is, well, this is kind of what I get to see sometimes. I guess the answer to servicing a reel is just opening it up and slathering it with a bunch of grease. Not sure that's productive. We got grease all over the place here. All it does is tend to make it painful for the next person who's servicing it. But, well, we'll take care of that. Good news is they did open it up. They did care enough to try and service it. And if the reel is still running, maybe we'll credit that grease with doing it. Funny thing about it, though, is they're greasing a bunch of non-moving parts. They're just wasting grease. All right, so this is a typical look at an Ocean City internal design reel. You have a jack, yoke, and a pinion gear with a carrier. The carrier has 4 slots to it, and on the Ocean City reel, you even got grease in the back of the spool here. You're going to notice the 2 studs. Well, when you're going to set the reel in strike position, that carrier will end up in any one of those cross positions and turn the reel. To remove this, we want to take out well, you don't need to take it out, just loosen it a little bit. And there's kind of a gate hook here. You need to clear the stud on the pass with that. And I just want to get it out all the way. And now we should just be able to push down on the yoke and pull out the assembly, just like that. And again, after the fun of this one is going to be just seeing if I can get stained with all the purple greases as I'm removing it. I want to clean as much of that off as I can. This is a good place to tell you to take pictures. A lot of the times folks ask me, well, how does that spring that is the eccentric spring, how does that connect? Because they got a little overzealous and they decided to push out the eccentric. Well, there's your picture right there. One end rests against the case, the other circular part goes over the stud, and the balance of the spool rides in a groove in that eccentric. Well, with that yoke out now, we can pull out the jack. We should be able to pull this yoke up and off. And that's riding on a stud here, so I got to do a little bit to clear that stud. There we go. Kind of hard to see with all that schmutz in there, if you will. There's two springs on the posts there. And again, more cleanup in aisle 7 here. I guess whoever designed this kind of liked it to be blood red too while they were at it. You do not need to remove the top 2 screws on this side. They're holding that little stud with the indentation in it, so that that'll align with your jack. That provides a channel for that, so you do not need to take that off. You do need to remove the 2 on the bottom. Sometimes those 2 on the bottom have nuts that are on the back end of it. I'm not sure if that's the case here. Yeah, they are. There's these 2 little cylinders with nuts. Sometimes they come loose, sometimes they don't. If they don't come loose, you're going to need to find a small socket, mini socket kind of thing, and that'll enable you to hold the back nut while you turn the screw. Alright, we have those 2 out. I left those 2 nuts in the bridge, and we can push the bridge through at this point and bring that back out. All of the pieces and parts that I take off go into a parts tray. I use the bottom of a fast food container, and I do that so that I can keep track of where those pieces and parts are, so when it comes time to reinstall, I don't have a question about that. Interesting, with all the greases and that spilled into that channel, your pinion gear is completely clean and devoid of any grease. Go figure. Put that together, put that in there. There's your bridge. We'll service that in a moment. Right now I just want to clean it. As you can see, like any grease that just lays for a while, the stuff is congealed and it's just got to get scraped and rubbed off. So I would say it's been a while since the last time that this reel has been serviced. You want to clean as much of the old grease off as you can. That way you don't have to worry about dirt and the like transferring over to the mechanical parts and well, ruining your reel, maybe acting as an abrasive or something, and wearing down a part prematurely. All right, I think for the most part we've got that. Again, there's kind of a raspberry color to it, and I don't think the staining that goes on with that you can do too much there. All right, the side plate's clean enough. We want to inspect our drag washers and the balance of the shaft, so we're going to see if we can't pull this out. And this one's really tight, so it's kind of telling me that something's a little bit jammed up in there. You probably don't have a very good functioning drag stack with the way that this is. So I'm just using a utility knife to pry up to get this washer off. That one seems to be the one that's causing the issues right now. And one of those little nut pieces came out, so I'm going to take the two out so that I don't risk dropping them. We also have our anti-reverse spring, and our anti-reverse dog is on the other side of this. We're going to continue to see if we can't get this off. Wow, those are really in there. And they're bad washers. Well, we're going to learn from this that this particular setup can use pen washers as a replacement. Let's see if I can't pry this up or not. But those drag washers are no longer functional. Alright, you don't need to see me pry this up. I'll be back in a moment. Okay, well this stack was so bad. How bad was it, right? All of the washers are frozen. There's a metal washer on this side, a metal washer on this side, a washer in here. This was the external washer. You can't even separate these. So there's no question there was 0 drag washers with this. Well, I removed it all, and I found that the Penn Beachmaster 155 washer is an almost identical fit to that and can be used. So we're going to go rebuild this stack. We're going to check the teeth on the gear first because I'm going to build the stack on the reel itself. And I'm just going to use pen grease. I know one thing, it's blue, not raspberry. It's a fishing reel grease. Penn was not associated with Ocean City. Yes, Ocean City made their reels in Philadelphia. So did Penn. The founder of Penn worked for Ocean City before he founded Penn. But that's about as far as those affiliations go. All right, we'll put the first one in. I got clean drag washers. I had a second set here, so we're going to go use those. Here's your second drag washer goes in now. The middle drag washer is always the one that has the 2 studs on it. It's called an eared washer. Make sure you press down on that. Here's your third one. And then here's the third of the metal washers. And then the one that I think they were hiding out belongs in as a cap washer. And that drag is done. We can return those pieces to the rightful owner. All right. Kind of is a reverse setup in terms of how you go about putting it back in. I'm going to put those 2 collars on. Now sometimes you're going to be working on an Ocean City reel that you need to set the dog on, that it's not part of the bridge structure. This one's like a jig master it's part of. If you find yourself in that situation, you need to remove this post in order to swing the reel around and seat the anti-reverse and the bridge structure. In this case, you don't need to do that. What you do need to do is locate the holes, put those 2 little nut collars in there, then go back to your part tray, get the pieces. Excuse me. There are 2 bigger screws. They're going to hold the bridge in. If you feel that that nut is turning on you, apply finger pressure. And if it keeps turning, you're going to have to go back and find that little ratchet wrench set that has the appropriate socket to hold that tight. All right, so we found out one of the causes of failure in this reel is the drag was all or nothing at all because all of the drag washers were frozen. That's okay, we solved for that. I want to take a moment here, grab the collar, put the star adjuster on. Make sure we're all down with the drag set before I go much further. These are always a little difficult to get on. So while I'm doing that, if you have any questions, if you want to, on this reel or any reel in particular, if you want to leave those questions in the comment section, I will try to answer those for you. You need to make sure that these adjusters go on evenly and that they're held on, not cross-stripping. That's what I wanted to make sure. Two things. One, that we had the washers, and two, that we had the clearance against this side adjuster. All right, we're in good condition with that. I want to grab those two springs. We'll put those over the studs for the yoke. Next up, we want to take the pinion gear. We want to make sure that we do two things in the greasing of that. One is to grease the one that will intersect with the main gear. The other is the one that's going to move in and out of that collar. And you can use a good amount there. Next up, seat the pinion gear into the collar. Make sure that your yoke is clean. Put a little bit of grease onto the yoke. Now sometimes you're going to find a yoke that has a tab on the top here that faces in, if you find that. This one seems to be okay in either direction. Grab your yoke and center it, merge it with your main gear. Press down. Make sure you compact the springs so that you have those two channels clear. Once your channel is clear, take your yoke, slide that in. Make sure you center over the hole so that you can get the stud in, and then drop down that little gate clip there and tighten that up. Before you go too much further, just give it a nice test. Make sure everything is spinning nicely, which it is. We know that we'll have variability in the drag washers now. And the last thing we need to do is just put a spot of grease into the adjuster on the non-gear side. The spool is pretty clean. Just make sure that if there is any old greases on there that they come off. Same thing here, a little bit of grease onto the shafts on both sides. Bring the spool in. Go ahead and get the side plate on. Now when I put the side plate on, I like to move the free spool to off. Actually, free spool is on, disengaging the spool. We'll go back and get those screws. Now one of the things I didn't mention on the way of removing them, there's 4 long screws. They go in the crossbars. There's 2 short screws. They go in the reel seat. That's something you should note when you take a reel apart. If there are screws of different sizes, then that's something you want to address. Mark the locations so that you know on the way back in from a reassembly standpoint, you put them in the right positions. And that's a Murphy's Law. If it can go wrong, it will go wrong. From time to time, you will put a screw in the wrong position. It will have an effect on the performance of the reel. I can recall one of the first times I did that, it was a Shakespeare Stratic. There was a body screw that was different than the others. I guess I didn't pay attention, put it in, and you couldn't have the oscillation function work because the length of the screw interfered with the drop of the axle shaft. So lessons learned. All right, last screw sitting in my tray here. We'll tighten that up, reinstall that handle. So we get this screw in. It's an extra long screw. Okay. For some reason they have put a washer underneath the handle here. Actually, they put it underneath the handle nut. I don't think you need it, but let's go find out. Got your handle screw. I guess I called it a nut because it has a traditional hex top. It is a screw. Make sure you tighten down on your drag before tightening the nut for the handle. Okay, and let's give it a test. So we're in free spool. That should spin nicely. As I mentioned, my dad fished one of these for years in the 60s. And, well, it just was a nice casting reel from beach, and he used it inshore for bluefish and the like. Look at this. Still nice today. Beautiful little reel. This is the JC Higgins with the Sears ID on it. It's really an Ocean City reel. And again, if you find yourself with an Ocean City reel, this is a good instructional on how to service that. And again, if you find yourself with a torn up set of drag washers, know that in this case, it's the Penn Model 155 Beachmaster reels, where you can interchange the drag washers. I'm not sure or certain about the metals, but I am certain about the HD 100s that we put in this reel. This reel's ready to go fishing again. I'm going to back that drag washer off and look at that. You actually can turn the handle while holding it, so you do have flexibility here. So if you're fighting a fish that needs to run and you can't run it at max drag, which is all the way tightened down, well, you need that kind of variability. Now you have it. So I hope you've enjoyed that. To our first responders and essential personnel, thank you for all it is that you do to keep us safe. I do truly appreciate your efforts. To everybody, enjoy the art of reel repair. Keep your reels serviced and ready to go fishing because, well, the fish are waiting for you. So get out there, get on the water, and enjoy the day. This is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle. Have a great day.